Hello, BookTube, and welcome back to New Worlds November. This is a brand new BookTube event that I'm one of the hosts of. It was created by Scott and Becky at the Bookish Bryants, and it deals with celebrating science fiction, which is huge. That's a huge undertaking. So we narrowed the field by concentrating on science fiction short works, anything fewer than 200 pages. And I've also been following the prompts, which we came up with in order to narrow the field even more. And the prompt for this week, the week that we're ending today, is time travel. And I've been narrowing the field even further for myself by drawing my stories not from any of these, the million science fiction anthologies that have existed over the years, but from the square-bound pulp periodicals that publish new science fiction stories every other month here in the United States. The Magazine of Fantasy and Science Fiction, Analog, and Asimov's. I've been going through those issues looking for stories that fit our prompts. And for time travel, it's been slim pickings. For 2021, I was going to further restrict myself just to 2021, but it was slim pickings. So I started going further afield with these magazines. And today, to finish up time travel, which was never really going to be a strong prompt of mine, it was never a strong, it always struck me as a low-hanging fruit gimmick. Someone else is here in this little room with me, as you can tell. Do you want to see your fans, baby? Oh, there she is. There's the being. Oh. Aren't you pretty? You are. You're so pretty. It always struck me as a fairly low-hanging fruit idea anyway, even before I started to read into the science of quantum mechanics, of quantum physics, in which case I don't see it as possible, in which case I think the violation that you would have to do in order to make a time travel story possible would not be figuring out a way for you to travel through time. It would be figuring out some way to give you the amazing superpower of not being part of your own time wave function. All of your own reality, all of your own perceived realities moving forward, appears to be moving forward in what appears to be one contiguous realization of time. That in order for you to step out of that, that would be a remarkable superpower. And even before then, though even before I started to have thoughts like that, I had no real patience for science fiction and for time travel stories in science fiction. And I still don't really. But I did find an old issue of Analog. And you can tell right from the cover that there's going to be a time travel story in this issue. And there is. There are actually two. And they're both by authors that I did not know. So let me show you the first one. And they both pretty neatly symbolize some of the things I don't like about this particular gimmick in science fiction. The first one is called Early Warning by Martin Shoemaker, the bulk of which is a conversation between present me and someone who claims to be future me. The narrator is present me. He's being talked to by an older version of what appears to be himself, who claims to be from his future. And he's scornful and disbelieving, thinks that future me is sabotaging a career that might otherwise ascend to incredible heights. And the story ends with present me breaking up from ending a relationship that he sees as being an impediment to his future. And the woman that he ends the relationship with starts just screaming hysterically. And then she reacted, screaming and pounding on my door. But when I went back to my notes, ignoring the noise, after several minutes, she stopped pounding. But then my phone started ringing. I turned it off so I could concentrate. I was so buried in my studies, I never noticed when Gwen gave up and left. I was sure, from these notes, I was sure I had the secrets of time travel, which were worth a Nobel Prize, and so much more. And without the distractions of Gwen and a ruined career, with the head start I'd given myself, I would be so much ahead. 20 years? Ha! I could do it in 3. I laughed at future me, so hung up on Gwen. I would be rich and famous. I could move up to supermodels, so why waste all that time on her? He needed Gwen, but I didn't. I was better than him. I was going places. I would be just fine without her. Just fine. And that is, the there but for the grace of me goes me gimmick of time travel as, a totally lost warning, that there's no way for you to warn yourself because I guess time is already writ, because time is already there in some sort of pattern. Of course, we know that the present day me will not be happy without Gwen. And maybe we'll need all 20 years to invent time travel in order to go back and tell himself that Gwen is more important than the accolades of the scientific world. It all seems very pat. It all seems very Middle Ages morality play pat. And the other story here is by Rosemary Claire Smith. I've never heard of either of these authors. Probably they're both famous, but the other one is called Diamond Jim and the Dinosaurs. That's the story from which the cover is drawn. And it's also fairly standard, about sightseeing safaris, tours, and even expeditions that are conducted into the past to go looking and examining and hunting maybe dinosaurs. And that also strikes me as very pat, as very simple in ways that I don't usually find elsewhere in science fiction. Even robot stories, which are the most simple stories of all and always have been, tend to be more complex in my mind than time travel. Like, for instance, you put on your fedora and you equip yourself with dinosaur be gone. In the story, there's a spray that you can spray at an assaulting dinosaur that is chemically created to make them go away. And you don't have any idea. We don't have any idea what it's gimmicky in a cheesy kind of way, in a way that unlike a lot of science fiction, flies in the face of known science rather than embracing it, rather than seeming to celebrate it. Like, for instance, off the top of your head, if you were to transport back in time, let's say that were possible, and you transported back in time to the Triassic period, would you be able to breathe? You're assuming that the sunlight, that the oxygen carbon dioxide ratios would be exactly the same, that wouldn't become your first concern, that you would just be stepping into southern Florida, and you'd be able to just go about your business dealing with dinosaurs. It's just the author of this story gets a pass. She was clearly just having fun, because I read up on her, and she has an enormous backlist, an enormous list of credentials when it comes to the actual world, the science of dinosaurs. She's just having fun with this story. It's not her fault that she's accidentally underscoring my problems with this kind of thing. So I love Nonfiction November, and I love our prompts, but I'm not going to make any bones of the fact that I won't be sorry to see the back of this particular prompt, especially since the next one is so fruitful. The next one is, I will encounter no shortage of prompts, no shortage of stories, I'm sure. And that is post-apocalyptic or dystopian works. That is the next prompt. That's for this coming week for New Worlds November, is post-apocalyptic and dystopian. I'm sure that I will find a number of those. But first, next time, we'll talk about that just a bit. So I'm going to wrap this up for now, but I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.